Good morning, friends. So we join again today to take up certain sectors and regions which, in our opinion, are likely to take off fast post-COVID. We took up one sector, agro health products earlier. Last week we took up e-commerce, which in our opinion, for SMEs, one of the best ways to introduce their products in a foreign market. Today we will take up China, which in our opinion again is one of those countries which is already showing sign of fast growth. Maybe not as fast as in earlier years, but definitely faster than many other economies. So let us take that journey. As you know, every year China hosts a import fair. Now these years also the dates have been announced, but I'm not sure whether they will keep up to these dates. So keep in mind the changes, and if you are a participant there as a visitor or somebody who is taking his goods, please keep track of the new dates. Last year, over 100 companies from India participated at this fair. It is the only one of its kind in the world, only open to imported goods. It shows the importance of imports into China's economy and the emphasis Chinese government is putting on importing large quantity of goods to feed its growing economy and its changing economy, as we will see later on. The latest data is showing that China imports is plunging, exports are falling. That is primarily because other countries are not able to take the goods. Their economies in Europe, US, Japan, Korea, where China sells most of its goods, they are yet to take off in a big way. So that is the reason. But overall, if we look at the future picture, we can see that China's future is very bright, although not as high growth as in past years, 7 to 8 or 9%. Certainly it will be above 6% this year onwards. So you can be assured that China will be a very good market for imported goods. Let us take some of the highlights of China, that it is a high growth, but not the highest growth country. At one time, it was growing at 9%, 10%. Today, it is growing at 6, 7%. It is no longer a low-wage economy. So many labor-intensive industries are leaving China and moving to other countries. China, in last 2 decades, the prosperity has increased tremendously, and very large and growing middle class, which needs foreign goods. And government is doing its best to provide channels of bringing foreign merchandise into China. Of course, it is the second largest economy in the world behind United States, and it is also the second largest recipients of foreign investment. So China's story is very much intact. It is also the largest exporter of merchandise goods at 2,500 billion, which is about 7 times India's merchandise export. Now, at the same time, it will import 30 trillion, that is 30,000 billion worth of goods over the next 15 years. And that also includes 10,000 billion worth of services over the next 15 years. Already China's infrastructure is rising very fast. It's almost at par with the world's, especially its ports, its airports are among the most efficient. Chinese people are also among the top spenders on outbound tourism. This is interesting information for those who are selling agro products. If you find any quota problems, which is there, for example, for sugar, try to export through Hong Kong. It is the world's largest e-commerce market where we'll be spending most of our time today. We also spent a lot of time on Chinese e-commerce market because that is the key to entry of small and medium industries into China. The Chinese imported e-commerce market, which is called cross-border e-commerce, and in short it is called CBEC, is 200 billion sales. It is rising at the rate of 20 to 30% every year. More than half the population is on internet today, and 63 crore population is expected to reach middle class with an average income of around $7,000 to $8,000. For almost 50 years, China's policy was investment. Don't spend your money, put it into industries, put it into infrastructure so that the country can grow. But now Chinese government has changed since 2018, has changed its policy because consumption increases GDP, more people buy, and service industries become big share of the GDP. So as in India, India is also a consumption economy. Consumption is the best way of increasing your GDP. Now this is the made in China policy for the next decade. It is going out of low labor products, low labor cost products like garments, leather industries, and moving into advanced products where it will sell throughout the world, especially China Rail is already world's #1 railway manufacturing company. And now China has also launched its first air passenger plane. So advanced transportation, automation and robotics, new energy vehicle, that is electric vehicles, and maybe later on hydrogen vehicles, aerospace, aeronautical equipment, maritime equipment and shipping. That means already China is a big manufacturer of ships. Advanced information technology, that means blockchain, cyber security, and all these related things. Power generation equipment, agricultural equipment, but agricultural equipment means advanced agricultural equipment which has lot of electronics and robotics built into it, and new materials like nanomaterials and things like. This is the future of China. And if you are a exporter, you must know where China is moving in future and where it will require intermediate products to feed its industries. China's strong points is it's a 130 crore economy, 130 crore population, very well developed manufacturing sector. It is close to the emerging markets like Korea, Asian markets Australia, etc., Japan. These are the markets which have very, very high growth rate. Very fast increasing per capita income. Labor costs are still low. They may be higher compared to the low cost, but still they are low compared to the developed world. New opportunities are coming in the western provinces, which we will come a little later. What are these areas where new opportunities will lie? Now, as you know, China has started building a very big network of transportation. Today, it is possible to take a train, freight train from China all the way to Spain and Russia. Already freight trains have started, which cuts down the very slow shipping route, very long and slow shipping route. So all these things are happening in China, and they will continue to grow, and it will create a big market of imported products. Of course, there are weak points. You have to be clear on China's legal environment. It keeps on changing, not only because of bureaucratic hurdles, but also because China is changing. And when change is there, it affects regulatory environment also. Of course, lack of transparency. We all know China. Aging population. It also provides certain market for older generation who have higher purchasing power, but their needs are different. Very high level of corporate loans, like in India. Production over capacity was a very big issue, and that is a global issue because of Chinese dumping. Very poor environmental situation, under which it has closed down hundreds of chemical factories, providing new opportunities for Indian chemical manufacturers, especially specialty chemicals, to move into China. Of course, there are a lot of cultural differences, and if you have to market in a new economy, in a new nation, in a different, then you must know the differences of cultural. The language is a big problem, but of course, a lot of technological help is there, which helps in removing some of these constraints. Now, as I said, China's consumer market is very big, and that is where our interest lies. In 2 decades, now 50 crore Chinese have moved into middle class, and it continues to rise. The poor population is reducing very fast. Now, rich coastal regions were 5 times as wealthy as its poorer. So, coastal regions are those Guangzhou and Shanghai areas where the economic development started in China. China's economic development was led by free trade zones, special economic zones, and they were all centered around the coastal areas. So there the development took place very fast, investment was very high, and definitely more jobs, better jobs, and better economy. But then now Chinese government is pushing that economy westwards, and we will see a little later what are the regions where next economy growth is expected. Because of the huge demand of imported goods, very big smuggling racket is there in China. Lot of For example, shrimp imports in Vietnam, much of that must be coming from India. Already, Indians' direct shrimp exports has reached $1 billion, but more than that also goes through other countries. There is a very big demand for sugar, and everything in China is big. Even smuggling of sugar is almost 2 million tons a year. So all these things have pushed Chinese government into laying certain policies for imported goods to make it easier for imported goods to enter China, so that Chinese government reduces the incidence of smuggling and also increase its customs revenue. As you know, China's per capita income is now average is $5,200, but in the coastal areas it is as high as $8,000. E-commerce is now the driver of economy, the consumer economy. It is the #1 source of purchasing of consumer goods in China. Online Chinese sales are many times higher than other countries. Similarly, mobile payments penetration is also 3 to 4 times higher than international average. It will soon overtake US as the largest consumer goods market. And all exporters must keep that in mind, that they cannot ignore China if they want to make a success of their export markets. Government's new consumption policy especially targets 5 areas. #1 is automobile consumption. Automobile sales have a multiplying effects on the economy because of its large service sector. You sell the cars, then you sell accessories, then you repair them, then you service them. So it creates a large economic base with large employment. Urban consumption. It has put now almost 38 cities where it allows cross-border e-commerce, that is imported goods e-commerce, and it is keeps on increasing. Why it is 38 cities, we will come later. Then on top of that, rural consumption. Rural markets are still far from major shopping centers, so e-commerce comes to help in rural areas also. New consumption of green products and smart home appliances. So these are the areas, and everything must correspond to a certain quality environment. So this is the area where Chinese government is putting emphasis in increasing its consumption of imported goods. Now, China has slashed import duties on many products. This is in general, not specific to e-commerce. We will come to much more liberal rules in e-commerce a little later. So this is just an example. Auto parts from 8 to 6%. If you go to the list of Chinese goods, there are hundreds of items where they have slashed the import duties to allow more imported products to enter the country. There are 3 ways to sell in China: distributor or joint venture, CBEC, of course AliExpress. For small and medium enterprises, e-commerce is now opening up very large markets because it is bypassing the traditional export-import barriers. If you look at the import barriers, India cannot export more than 3 lakh tons of sugar into China. That is the quota of China. because China also wants other countries to sell its products. So it has now, but on e-commerce, any Chinese can buy 2 kilos of sugar every year. If you look at the Chinese population, it runs into thousands of tons. So e-commerce allows you to bypass certain barriers which are mostly on food and products of human consumption. Of course, we know of Guangzhou and wholesale markets. Many of us have been visiting there. Guangzhou has 40 wholesale markets, almost one for each industry. And you can find wholesale markets. Many importers go there. And if you want to sell in the normal channel, this is the place from which goods move into mainland China. And these are, each of them are very huge places with thousands of shops. Now, e-commerce market is 2000 billion. That is total e-commerce. That means domestic and foreign. So it's a very large market. Alibaba Group was a monopoly, but now it has found a lot of smaller e-commerce rivals which are taking some markets away from Alibaba. Alibaba's problem is that it is huge. You can get, a consumer can get lost in the platform there, to find a choice, thousands of choices. So many people are now selling through other channels which are cheaper than Alibaba to register and transaction cost, but they also provide a very large audience. So if you want to sell in China, the favorable device is a mobile phone. I think the same is true in India also. And that will be the main source of, main channel of ordering in China. CBEC is also called Taohai. If you go on internet, Google, you put Taohai or CBEC, you will come to a lot of information on these products. Tmall, of course, is part of Alibaba Group. That is their retail channel. JD.com is also a rival of Alibaba. It has a huge reach in China. The way to sell is that products are kept in warehouses in the free trade zone. There are 22 free trade zones in mainland China where goods are kept either by the company themselves or through a warehouse rented or through a third-party logistic supplier. And they are kept there till they are sold. When order is received from the platform, order reaches the fulfillment center in free trade zone. Product is handed over to China Post. That is the only way to sell in China, e-commerce. China Post delivers the products to the buyer sorry, and collects all the duties payable by the buyer. So till the product is lifted by China Post, there is no duty payable. Now at this moment, China Post services are limited to 22 cities. But as time passes, this will keep on growing. So every year they are liberalizing this e-commerce route, the Chinese government. They call it a beta or a pilot project. That means it is continuously under monitoring and development. So the Chinese cities will keep on increasing, and if you want to sell in China, keep a track on what is happening. Latest changes took place in January of this year, where they added number of products and number of cities. So next year again in January, you can see the Chinese custom sites or various platforms. So see what are the new changes which are taking place. E-commerce is free of all import duties. VAT is levied, but at a substantial discount. And this is collected by the China Post directly from the buyer. Very liberal conditions for food and human consumption products. Unlike in normal imports, where very stringent conditions are there. So this is the way to sell in China. There are many exporters have told me personally that they face a lot of problems of e-commerce in China. Of course, it is there. The biggest success of e-commerce in USA is the Amazon's door-to-door fulfillment services. They carry your products from certain centers in India and keep them in their warehouses. So, but in China, that total logistic solution is not possible. But of course, certain things can be worked out if exporters come together. We can also, in our GOG AMA Center of International Trade, we can have a meeting and try to solve these problems jointly. We can also bring in third-party logistics companies and try to solve these problems. Of course, now WeChat and Weibo, these are the social media platform. These are the #1 place to sell consumer products in China. WeChat is a wonderful, it failed in India, but in China it is very successful. Problem is that it is only in Chinese language. The payment and the registration requirement in WeChat is much more liberal than Alibaba's various platforms. Now, list of products which are approved for sale. There are 350 products which are approved for. There are 350 products which are approved for sale under CBEC platforms, cross-border China e-commerce. Most of these are electronics and food products, hygiene products. And you can see if any of your products are in the list, then e-commerce is the easiest and the best way to enter into China today. Now, these are the new rules. As I said earlier, China government keeps on liberalizing the rules. Single transaction amount has been increased almost more than 2 times. Annual also has been increased. For example, a family of 4, husband, wife, 2 children, today can order almost $14,000 worth of goods from cross-border platforms in a year. Within these limits, no import duty is there, but VAT is there, which has a substantial discount from e-commerce. This list of 350 products is called a positive list. So every year you should look at the positive list issued by the Chinese government and see if new products have been added. So these are the new list of products. Now complete list is in Chinese language, but you can follow it through HS code. HS code can guide you to the actual products. Now number of cities has now been increased to 37, that is from January 2020, because China Post's infrastructure is improving and they are adding new cities as a result of that. But keep on looking at Chinese rules and regulations for e-commerce on a regular basis, and then you can benefit from it. WeChat is only in Chinese language, but today a lot of intermediaries are there, lot of applications they are there which convert into WeChat account. So all these things can be learned. But if you want to, at a later stage, open your own warehouse in China, it is very easy to open an office in China mainland, any of the 22 free trade zone. The rental value of warehouse changes from zone to zone. It is most expensive in Shanghai and less expensive in some other. So you can do that. Of course, Hong Kong is always there. Indian government provides a subsidy up to 5 crores to any Indian companies opening a warehouse in a foreign country. Unfortunately, very few, I would say very few companies have taken advantage of this facility, this subsidy from the Indian government. So if you open a warehouse on Chinese free trade zone, then you can avail of this subsidy from Indian government. Of course, there is a lot of competition between various free trade zones. They are run by local governments and they also give lot of subsidies and help to newcomers to open their business within their territory. So you have to compare, if you want to open, you have to compare and it's a good business for anybody, not only to sell your goods, but also be a seller of other goods. Today, transactions have all been automated. Lot of applications are available which allow platform and facilitation centers transaction to take place and money transfer to take place seamlessly. So these are not very difficult problems, easy to understand. So as a foreign company, you can open your company in free trade zone. You need not register within China. And you can keep your goods there. There is no custom issues in keeping goods in free trade zone. If you have an office there, you can get local loans. So a lot of local subsidy from Chinese government and local government, provincial governments are available. So one has to look very seriously into doing business through the free trade zone. Qinghai is a very good free trade zone for those who want to enter China through free trade zone. So as I said, this is a new free trade zone where this local government is providing a lot of assistance to bring businesses to their shores. Of course, Tmall does not have a fulfillment center in India, just like Amazon. It has now opened 6 fulfillment centers throughout the world, but so far not in India. Lot of Indian products are already selling, and these are the preferred places to sell in China. There are 5 top platforms, and you can choose one or more based on your research. Now, what are the most popular products sold on these platforms? As I said, each Chinese can buy 2 kilos of sugar and 20 kilos of rice on cross-border platforms. Both sugar and rice are approved for sale in normal, usual import-export from India. Both basmati rice and not basmati rice can be sold in China. There are certain restrictions which are largely waived in cross-border transactions. So there is hardly any custom interference in selling on cross-border e-commerce platforms. These are some of the important things. Honey especially is one of Chinese honey export markets are declining because China is not producing enough honey to supply its own population. So if you are a exporter of honey, don't ignore China. In spite of its large honey population, there is also a market for foreign honey. There is a market for natural, unprocessed honey in China. Sugar, these are, you see the 400% increase in sugar sales. Meat and seafood, clothing, coffee, tea, spices, all these are, see the growth between 2018 and 2019. Alcoholic beverages, very important, you see. Cocoa, these are all products, except for maybe live animals, we don't. All these products, we are big suppliers to China in normal trade also. So again, growth of imported leather, ethnic and tailored clothings. Lot of Indian products are going, especially home furnishing, draperies, etc. Now, as I said, China is now expanding its markets inland. Now it has those who are wanting to sell their fruit and vegetable products, fresh. Two fruit products are Chinese government allows from India, that is mango and grapes. So for both the products, now Chinese government has opened new imported markets in inland areas, not in Guangzhou and Shanghai, which are port areas, but inland where you can sell through and direct air cargo deliveries are there, and custom formalities are very fast so that fresh fruit reaches the customers in the shortest period. Now, as you can see, Guangzhou becomes a leading distributor hub of foreign fruits. It's a huge quantity. Now there is only random inspection of foreign fruits, and rest can go directly to the wholesale market and from there distributed to the retailers. So cities like Wuhan, Zhangzhou, Luoyang, Xi'an are taking distribution directly from Shanghai and Guangzhou. There are two reasons. Number one, internal markets are developing, inland markets. Number two, fresh fruits and vegetables reach the customer faster. Let us take one example. Last year there was an experiment when a temperature controlled container of mangoes, that is called a reefer consignment, went from Nhava Sheva port to Southampton port in UK within 3 weeks. Earlier, mangoes were always sent through air cargo. This is the first time it was sent through a reefer consignment. Now, the distance was over 7,000 kilometers. If we have to transport mangoes from Gujarat to China, let us see how it can go. You see, first of all, there are certain advantages in sending fresh fruits and vegetables through temperature controlled containers. They slow down the ripening process, so the product reaches just at the right time for the markets, retail markets. Secondly, because of this control in the reefers, oxygen and carbon dioxide are tightly controlled so that the ripening process is optimized. So these extend the shelf life of mango, and you save on at least 40% of the air freight cost. Those who are sending goods by air freight today, they know that air freight costs have risen tremendously because of the COVID. Now let us take, now Nhava Sheva to Shanghai distance is 5,000 kilometers. That is about 2/3 of the distance of Southampton. So 3 days to Nhava Sheva, your cargo of Kesar mangoes. 17 days to Shanghai. Another 2 days to Shanghai to Jiazing imported fruit market, which is at a distance of about 125 kilometers from Shanghai. And then another 2 days for reaching its retail. So total is about 24 days, 25 days, about the same as sending fruits to Southampton. So those who want to sell fresh fruits and vegetables, they can use these routes to reach internal markets within China. Of course, air freight route is always open, but these are the markets where the large exporters of mangoes have not yet established their presence. These markets only opened in 2018. So you can take the lead where your rivals are not present. Most of the 90% of our mangoes land up at Guangzhou port and Guangzhou airport, and from there it is going inland. So you can bypass the existing competition and move to new territories. So these are the products which are available for sale from India. Chinese spices were among the best sellers on Alibaba's some of their big sales days. For a surprise addition is to the export market is the rising sale of India's black tea. China is a green tea country all over Southeast Asia, China, Korea, Japan, they only drink green tea. But Chinese have started developing a taste for, at least in the larger cities, and some Indian tea shops have started opening in Peking and Shanghai. So this is a small but a welcome addition to our export markets. So there is a very large market for food ingredients, additives, sauces, seasonings, various types of seasoning because of the expansion of takeaway food in China. COVID has increased that market. Cloud kitchens, now that market also needs intermediates products, and that is a specialty of India. Now, as I said earlier, that there are 4 regions, how they are shaping up. As you know, this is the region which took the earliest Chinese government investment and maximum production, manufacturing industries, free trade zone, etc. took place here. So this is the most developed part of China and also therefore the most prosperous part of China. So all the activities, imported activities are centered here. But now this is the next move where Chinese government has set up new imported fruit markets, and after this will be the next Western Sichuan province, the next area of. So be alert to what are the changes taking place in Japan and stay away from the huge competition within this area and move to this area where there is no competition at this moment. And you can be the first to set up your shop in these areas, the further inland areas of China. So a lot of products can be sold in China today, snacks. Then intermediate products for cloud kitchens and home delivery, food delivery. Handicrafts is a big export item from India, especially metal handicrafts. Finished leather. China at one time was a big export market, but now Chinese are importing large amount of finished leather goods rather than semi-finished goods, hides and skins. So Indian Handicrafts Fair, 200 crores order was placed with Indian exporters. So again, diamond jewelry has taken a beating, and also due to COVID, we don't see any rebound in the market in the near future. But definitely as China prosperity increases, if not this year, next year, we expect that this market will again take its earlier high growth space. China pharmaceutical market is very big, but since January 2020, China has allowed sale of pharmaceutical products through cross-border e-commerce. That means you can sell pharmaceutical products through e-commerce, which was not allowed earlier. Now, this is a very welcome thing. I do not know much about it. It's a very recent development. And those who are interested in selling through e-commerce platforms, they must do a lot of research, but it will be worthwhile because Indian pharmaceutical products are much cheaper than Chinese counterparts. As I said earlier, Chinese specialty markets is another area where you can enter because China has closed down hundreds of chemical companies due to environmental issues. So there is a big demand for specialty chemicals, and later maybe in sometime in we are going to about I think you keep the track on AMA website. We are going to have another program on specialty chemicals where we will provide more details about this market. but it is a very big market, and India is making big inroads into this. Already India's dyes and dye stuff exports have increased to China, and other chemicals also, which India was importing from China, it is now exporting. So there are a lot of products which we can sell to China. Home textiles is rising very fast. That means bed linen, draperies, towels, etc. Don't forget the organic market also. India is the largest producer and exporter of organic cotton. So there is a big market for organic products also. Now, government to government, India keeps on negotiating with China for greater market access, and it has found certain success. But as I said earlier, you can bypass all that through cross-border e-commerce. India's export in 2017-18 rose by 28%. After that, there was a slowdown, and COVID has, of course, tremendously affected the export of Indian products. But we hope that by December, January, things will again start doing well. So India now, after 2 products in fruits, it wants more access into vegetable markets. And also, as I said earlier, in 3 years, India's market for China's market for Indian prawns has increased 4 times, from $200 million to $1 billion. And this is aside of what goes via Vietnam. Lot of Indian products go into China via Vietnam also. Again, cotton textile export to China has increased. There is a misconception that China itself is a big producer of cotton textiles, so there is no market. But we have our own designs, we have our own ethnic strengths, we have block printing, and so many other regional variations in designing, and this is our strength. It is not the cotton staple, it is the designing of material which will create big market in China. Again, China B2B market is very big. And not only the B2B market is in products, but also in services. Now there is a lot of problems in sending Indian professionals into mainland China, but you can set up your office in these 22 trade zones, and some of them are within inland provinces where you can bring your people without any problems. So this was a big success, and as I said earlier, 100 Indian exporters were there, and we hope that 2020 also, if it is organized in time, will also be a big success. So all in all, China is a very big market, and those who take the time to explore, to research, and to enter, they will find very big returns at the end of the day. Apart from the import fair, Canton Fair is very big, and that is a major place to exhibit your products. We cannot forget the Chinese attachment to Hong Kong. The whole of Hong Kong is a free trade zone, and large quantities of tobacco alcoholic beverages are re-exported from Hong Kong into China. Tobacco is one product which is allowed, Indian tobacco is allowed entry into China. But you can also sell alcoholic beverages. Our whiskeys and rum, they are among the cheapest in the world. A whiskey bottle which costs 500 rupees in the Indian market, actually ex-factory price is not more than 100. It is the huge 3 to 400% excise and other duties which make it expensive. So those who want to sell through e-commerce, they can also sell our Indian rum, which has a very good market. Now, if China, mainland China, bans certain products, or they don't allow many Indian products, try through intermediates in Hong Kong. They have ways of entering China, and do your homework and find a good intermediary who can enter China from Hong Kong. Lot of products can be sold through Hong Kong. So India is a major producer of fresh fruit, cigarette and liquor. They can be introduced into China through Hong Kong. As I said, some of our local whiskies like Officer's Choice, McDowell, they are among the top ranking world sellers. So use your channels to introduce new type of products into China, where there is very little competition at this moment. You can experiment with new products and see how they fare. Again, services, software, lot of problems are there about sending Indian people there, but India has launched 2 IT corridors in China, and third one is in planning, where Indian companies are based on the Chinese mainland. But if you have a business, use the free trade zone to introduce your services also into China. China is a big market for all types of application and software. There is a misconception that there is no trade agreement between India and China, but there is one Asia Pacific trade agreement under which China allows import of certain Indian products, where duty has been cut from reduced to up to 0. So many of these products come in these categories where India is a big seller. So look at the provisions of Asia Pacific Trade Agreement. This is only for import from 5 countries into China. So use these provisions for reduced duty imports into China. So you see the huge reduction in duties because of Asia Pacific Trade Agreement. So use this to sell your products. Again, China keeps on reducing duties under its various categories of customs, and APTA is also one of the places where they are reducing duties continuously. So that is the end of the program. The takeaway is that China is a very big market, and within China, the cross-border e-commerce is a huge platform. I think it is the most liberal imported platform in the world today. So make use of it. If you have any issues, do join us at AMA. You can get also your copies of this presentation from AMA at amaindia.org. And if you have any issues, if any problems you have not understood, I am always there. Thank you and goodbye.